Some would say that Beijing's response was quite measured. And some would say, look, this is just Beijing out of touch. What's your take on what happened yesterday?
Well, you now see that two vicious circles have been established. The refusal to make any concessions on the part of the Carrie Lam administration, supported by Beijing, as demonstrated by yesterday's press conference, has made the people angrier and has stiffened the demands of the pro-democracy movement. And every confrontation between the protesters and the police have exacerbated their mutual hostility. The involvement of the trials in the confrontations in Yunnan on Sunday before last really pushed the situation to a new level of crisis. It is difficult that there are no solutions in sight, no reconciliation process going on, and it has become a test of wills.
So who should be responsible for diffusing the situation now? Is it up to the Hong Kong government, or do you think it's actually now time for Beijing to take some action as well?
2-3 weeks ago, the broad consensus in the community, including many leaders of the pro-establishment camp, would like to have a clear-cut withdrawal of the controversial legislation, plus the setting up of an independent commission of inquiry, not necessarily into alleged police violence, but into the entire crisis, the entire event. But now this has become very difficult because the police staff associations have all come out against this independent commission, and it seems that Beijing has praised the police force lavishly, implying a support for their hardened stand. It is certainly unreasonable for the police to say that the chief secretary doesn't represent them, that they are openly against an independent commission of inquiry. So since the milder compromises are not acceptable to both sides, it seems that Beijing and the Carrie Lam administration has adopted a strategy of hanging tough for a longer period of time until the people are tired of these protests and disruption activities, and then for a turn of the tide of public opinion, as happened in the occupation campaign in the latter half of 2014.
Joseph, are we looking at a China that's more intolerant or a China that's more tolerant? What's your take on that?
Definitely more intolerant, and this is broadly in line with China's policy towards national minorities, especially the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, towards civil society organizations, towards autonomous labor groups, and so on. So typically, the Chinese leadership refuses to make concessions to mass movements. And at the moment, its stance seems to be clear. It not only supports the Carrie Lam administration, it has been openly supporting the police force, which is seen to be involved in trial activities, or at least has demonstrated considerable neglect in the incidents on Sunday before last in Yunnan.
Joseph, from what I understand, Hong Kong's importance to China has dropped. It now contributes 2% to GDP versus, 15% before. Given that scenario, how much leverage does Hong Kong really have?
The importance has been in decline, but the remaining importance is still considerable, and it is unreasonable to give up Hong Kong this way. Moreover, the failure of Hong Kong will tarnish the image of the Chinese leadership and will mean and will imply the death of the one country, two systems model. Already, Beijing has been paying a very high price in terms of its policy towards Taiwan. Taiwan people are now very sympathetic towards the people in Hong Kong, and they do not find the country two systems model of any appeal to the Taiwanese people, and certainly they are against any political negotiations with Beijing as well.
Why do you think Beijing continues to support Carrie Lam? I mean, there's reports saying that she has asked to step down. They haven't let her. Why do you think Beijing is keeping her in leadership here at the moment?
It is rather typical on the part of Beijing not to allow a local leader to step down because of protests. There is the issue of phase, there's the issue of demonstration effect. What will happen if protest activities also take place in some mainland Chinese cities? So typical response on the part of Beijing is to support the incumbent leader and to allow her an opportunity to clean up the mess. And if she really cannot perform, then there are all kinds of excuses of asking her to step down, as was the precedent with regard to the Sikh Stone case over the Article 23 legislation.